Imagine watching your favorite star live, and suddenly the unthinkable happens. One moment they are laughing, singing, performing, and the next, tragedy strikes in front of millions. From musicians collapsing mid-song, to wrestlers falling in the ring, to shocking on-air moments no one could have predicted, these are the real stories of people who pass away live on TV. Some tried to continue. Some were gone in an instant. And every single one left audiences frozen in disbelief. Let's discover. Number 19. Steve Irwin. When you think of fearless explorers, Steve Irwin's name shines bright. Nicknamed the Crocodile Hunter, he was loved around the world for his wild adventures and deep passion for wildlife. His bold energy made him a global icon, and millions grew up watching him get closer to animals most people would never dare approach. What could possibly go wrong when someone so experienced is doing what he loves? In September of 2006, while filming for a new documentary called Ocean's Deadliest at the Great Barrier Reef, Steve was swimming over a large stingray. According to crew members, the creature suddenly reacted, striking Steve with its barb. Cameras were rolling, but this heartbreaking footage has never been shown to the public. Steve managed to pull the barb out himself, but the injury was too severe. His team rushed him to their boats and desperately tried to save him, but he passed away shortly after. He was just 44 years old. Steve Irwin's passing served as a heartbreaking reminder that even the most skilled and knowledgeable people can face the unexpected. His legacy didn't end that day. His wife Terry and his children, Bindi and Robert, picked up the torch he carried. They expanded conservation efforts, opened wildlife hospitals, and taught millions of new fans to love and respect animals. Today, the crocodile hunter spirit lives on in every rescued animal and every inspired young conservationist. But Steve Irwin wasn't the only talented performer whose life ended far too soon. Just a few years later, a rising star in France faced a tragic fate of her own, right in the middle of her greatest passion. Number 18. Barbara Weldons. Barbara Weldons was one of those performers who could make a room feel enchanted. Singing barefoot on stage, with her rich voice filling every corner of the venue, she looked unstoppable. On a warm July night in 2017, she stepped onto the stage at the Léo Ferré Festival in Gordon, France, ready to share her heart through her music. No one could have guessed what was about to happen. Midway through her performance, something went terribly wrong. Witnesses say Barbara suddenly collapsed, her microphone slipping from her hands. The audience, used to her dramatic stage presence, first thought it was part of her act. But confusion quickly turned into panic. Barbara had unknowingly come into contact with a faulty electrical device on stage. A hidden danger that had gone unnoticed delivered a sudden and devastating shock. Medical workers rushed to help, but despite everything they tried, Barbara was pronounced dead at the scene. She was just 35 years old. The shock of that night rippled through the French music community and beyond. Barbara had recently released her first full album and had been gaining momentum across Europe. Her songs, filled with emotion and raw honesty, had touched countless fans who now struggled to make sense of her sudden absence. Though her voice was silenced far too soon, Barbara Weldons left behind a small but powerful legacy. Her passion for music, her fearless performances, and her commitment to pouring her soul into every lyric still inspire those who discover her work today. Number 17. Big Pokey. The night in Beaumont, Texas, buzzed with energy. Big Pokey, one of Houston's most respected rap legends, had taken the stage. Fans cheered, phones lit up the crowd, and the music pulsed with life. Big Pokey had been part of the Screwed Up clique and helped pioneer the chopped and screwed sound that put Houston on the map. But on June 17, 2023, something completely unexpected shattered the excitement. In the middle of performing, Big Pokey suddenly collapsed. For a few stunned moments, people thought it might be part of the show, but as he lay motionless, panic spread. Crew members and bystanders rushed forward while emergency responders were called. Despite rapid intervention and immediate transport to the hospital, Big Pokey passed away later that night. It was later revealed that the cause was a major cardiac event, worsened by pre-existing health conditions like hypertension and diabetes. Number 16. Sib Hashian. There are moments in music history that feel too surreal to be true. Sib Hashian, the powerhouse drummer for the legendary rock band Boston, lived for those electrifying moments on stage. Every beat he played was a heartbeat of classic rock history. But in March of 2017, during what seemed like another memorable night at sea, something unimaginable happened. It was a Legends of Rock cruise, a dream lineup for fans and performers alike. Sib Hashian, at 6 to 7 years old, was behind the drums, still delivering the energy and precision that had made Boston songs unforgettable. As the ship sailed under clear skies, Hashian began playing one of the classic hits that had defined a generation. Then, without warning, he suddenly collapsed mid-performance. For a few stunned seconds, the crowd thought it might have been part of the show, a dramatic moment by a rock veteran. But the music stopped, and panic rippled through the stage crew. Emergency responders aboard the cruise ship raced to assist him. They tried everything they could, but Sib Hashian was pronounced dead shortly afterward. Reports later revealed that he had been dealing with health issues, but nothing had prepared anyone for the suddenness of that night. Fans were left devastated, struggling to process how a man who had given so much to the world of music could be lost so abruptly doing what he loved most. Hashian's signature drumming had helped define Boston's sound, especially on tracks like More Than a Feeling. His talent and spirit left a lasting mark on rock history. Even though that final beat came unexpectedly, the rhythms he created continue to live on every time Boston's music fills the air. What's the most unforgettable live performance you've ever seen? The one that gave you chills and stayed with you forever? Comment down below. Number 15. Valencia Prime. Some performers light up the room the moment they step onto the stage. Valencia Prime was one of those stars. An emerging force in the electronic dance music scene, she had a way of connecting with her audience that made every set feel electric. But during what should have been a triumphant night in June of 2024, tragedy struck without warning. Valencia were performing at a major EDM festival in Berlin, where thousands of fans gathered to dance, celebrate, and lose themselves in the music. Under the bright, swirling lights, her energy was contagious. She had just dropped one of her signature mixes, and the crowd roared in response. Then, in the middle of her set, something unexpected happened. Valencia collapsed right behind the DJ booth, the music continuing for a few surreal moments as people tried to grasp what they had just seen. At first, many thought it was a dramatic effect, something playful or creative. But as crew members rushed to her side and the music was cut off, the reality became clear. Emergency services were called immediately, and Valencia was taken to a nearby hospital. Despite their urgent efforts, she was pronounced dead upon arrival. The cause was identified as a critical cardiac event. She was just 29 years old. Tributes poured in from around the world, celebrating a performer who had barely begun to show the world all that she could do. Number 14. Tommy Cooper. When you watched Tommy Cooper perform, you expected the unexpected. The famous British comedian and magician built his entire career around unpredictable, hilarious chaos. But on a spring night in 1984, the unexpected took a turn no one could have imagined, right in front of a live television audience. It was April 15th, and Tommy Cooper was performing on the popular live show Live from Her Majesty's. Wearing his signature red fez, he had the audience in stitches, blending clumsy magic tricks with his larger-than-life presence. Then, right in the middle of one of his routines, Cooper staggered, leaned back against the curtains, and collapsed. Viewers at home thought it was part of the act. Even the studio audience laughed, believing the collapse was just another one of his perfectly timed jokes. But as the seconds dragged on and Cooper didn't get up, a wave of unease began to spread. Behind the scenes, frantic efforts were made to help him. Crew members pulled the curtains closed, and other performers rushed to assist. Despite the quick response, Tommy Cooper passed away backstage from a massive heart attack, leaving the country in shock. He was 63 years old. The broadcast continued after a short break, but the mood had completely shifted. News spread quickly across Britain that night. One of the nation's favorite entertainers had passed away live on air. Even decades later, people remember where they were when they first heard the news. Number 13. Pedro Enrique. It started like any other night of music and celebration. Pedro Enrique, the talented Brazilian guitarist, was doing what he loved most, connecting with fans through his music. No one at that festival could have imagined they were about to witness a moment they would never forget. On March 12, 2023, Pedro took the stage at a lively music festival in Sao Paulo. His energy was infectious, his guitar work electric, and the crowd responded with cheers and applause. Everything about the performance felt alive. But as he moved into his next song, something terrible happened. Midway through the set, Pedro suddenly collapsed. At first, Many in the crowd were confused, unsure if it was part of the show or some kind of playful moment. But when he didn't get up, panic set in. Paramedics rushed onto the stage as the music came to a halt. Despite their efforts, Pedro was pronounced dead after being transported to a nearby hospital. Authorities later confirmed the cause was a heart attack. He was only 39 years old, and in the hours before his collapse, he had seemed healthy, happy, and full of life. Pedro's passing stunned the Brazilian music scene. He had built a loyal following over the years, working with several major bands and inspiring fans with his passion for live performance. Though his guitar fell silent that night, the music and memories he left behind continue to echo through every stage he once played. Number 12. Owen Hart. When it comes to professional wrestling, few names are remembered with as much heartbreak as Owen Hart. Known for his incredible athleticism, charm, and wit, Owen had built a career that was respected by fans and fellow wrestlers alike. But on one tragic night in May of 1999, during a live WWF pay-per-view event, everything went terribly wrong. Owen Hart was set to make a dramatic entrance from the rafters of the Kempo Arena in Kansas City. Dressed as his comedic character, the Blue Blazer, the stunt involved being lowered into the ring from the ceiling by a harness. But something malfunctioned. Before Owen could even reach the ring, he fell from a great height, landing inside the squared circle as a horrified crowd looked on. The television broadcast quickly cut away from the live scene, but those in the arena witnessed the entire tragedy unfold. Emergency crews rushed into the ring and tried to resuscitate him. Despite their efforts, Owen Hart was pronounced dead shortly after reaching the hospital. He was only 34 years old. In the years since, his legacy has lived on through tributes, foundations, and endless memories shared by fans who still remember the night the wrestling world lost one of its brightest lights. Number 11. Lillian Hardin Armstrong. The music was meant to be a tribute, a loving celebration of one of jazz's greatest legends. But that night in August of 1971, the stage became the setting for an unforgettable farewell. Lillian Hardin Armstrong, a brilliant jazz pianist and composer, was performing at a televised concert honoring her late husband, Louis Armstrong. The night was filled with emotion, as Lillian sat at the piano, pouring her heart into every note. She was a trailblazer, a woman who had shaped early jazz alongside some of the greatest musicians of all time.